All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for taking some time to join us on our next Power Panel, Producing Virtual and Hybrid Events in Physical Studios, a look behind the scenes. I'm your host today. My name is Mitch Malinsky, and I am the head of strategic partnerships here at PheedLoop. And I'm also joined by three fantastic guests. We've got Andrew White from Food Dog Productions, Jamie Richardson from Bespoke AV, and Mark Awad from BB Blanc. Just to get started here, we'll go around the group for a quick round of introductions. So Andrew, if you wouldn't mind kicking it off.
Hey, sure, thanks Mitch. Hello, my name is Andrew White. I represent Food Dog Productions, a fantastic group of production professionals specializing in connecting audiences worldwide through the design of quality messaging and memorable experiences. We find ourselves primarily focused on creative, content development, event management side of the business. So over the past 12, 13 months, through a lot of hard work from our family, talented creators, designers, producers, project managers, broadcast engineers, we found ourselves uniquely positioned between that, what was mostly live, now all virtual, and soon to be hybrid. So that's kind of where we come from, and thanks to you and the PheedLoop team for organizing and asking us to be a part of the Changemakers Summit. Of course.
Thanks, Andrew. Jamie?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Richardson, and nice to see you, Mitch, and Andrew and Mark. I'm with Bespoke Audiovisual. Like Mitch said at the beginning, we are, I'll say, a relatively traditional AV company in the pre-COVID world, but in the post-COVID world, we've really evolved our business to be something different than what you would think of as an AV business, and we've really spent a lot of time switching over to a service-based model and embracing what is now a full-on event production. We used to say it before, but we didn't really know what we were saying before. So now we really are embracing full-on event production, which runs the gamut between in-person on-site events and totally digital event production and everything between. And as Andrew said, hybrid soon to be, as soon as the world opens up enough. So that's us, Bespoke Audiovisual.
Beautiful. And Mark?
Yeah, thanks, Mitch, and great to be here with Andrew and Jamie. Thank you for having me. So Mark Awad from BB Blanc Audiovisual. I'm the Director of Business Development. I've been with the company for almost 8 years. And you know, very similar what I'm hearing from Andrew and Jamie with BB Blanc. We're a privately owned Canadian company, and we've always partnered with our clients and helped enhance their events by just adding creative and unique set design and creativity. And you know, we've been tasked, just like my colleagues here, to help them execute and convert typical in-person experiences to the virtual world. You know, one thing that worked well for us in the pivot, I guess, is, you know, we had previous experience with things like streaming and webcasting, and really we've been able to transform our 45,000 square foot facilities in the GTA, the Toronto area, to these fantastic dynamic studio spaces where we've been able to host very unique and creative virtual experiences for our clients. So we're looking forward to helping educate on how to continue that as we move towards a more hybrid model.
Awesome. All right. Well, as you can see, we've got a star-studded cast here. I'm really looking forward to the conversation, and we'll get started with Andrew here. So Andrew, we've had a lot of experience working with you on countless events over the past year, especially. Can you set the stage for us today and tell us how event production has evolved over the last year? And are there any highlights for the last 12 months for Food Dog that you were particularly proud of?
Yeah, sure. So in regards to the evolution, it has been quite the 12, 13 months, and it's been a pleasure working with you guys, by the way. As far as the evolution, in my opinion, it's mostly on how we deliver and experience the information. A shift towards truly communicating effectively with live interaction through, you know, essentially a laptop now has become our focus. So it's a simple attendee experience, allowing the content to be the single most important memory of the event. Has kind of been like the major evolution there. And let's see, as far as highlights, I guess one that comes to mind, a couple weeks ago, successfully produced a summit on the PheedLoop platform for a group focused on making huge differences in the lives of people dealing with endometriosis. An amazing group of doctors truly making a difference in the world. It's been a live event in the past, 200 or 300 people, I believe, what was the live attendee base. And because of the pandemic, they weren't forced to go to virtual. They're forced to make a decision, wait till next year or go virtual. Well, after a number of conversations and dealing with the uncertainties on, cost versus return on investment versus getting the message out there and remaining relevant, decided to go virtual. Well, fast forward, in the end, a 3-day live event was an amazing success, connecting people with each other and with information. And they nearly tripled their attendee base, their following, and their social media is off the hook. They sold, they're already talking comments about virtual next year as opposed to live. I strongly suggested that they look into hybrid models, because there definitely is something to being in person. But there's also another whole global audience out there that can't travel, that would love to be a part of the event and experience that that information. So it's really amazing being part of such an event. So I would say that was a highlight, was seeing the differences, not only in the information, how it got out, but the reactions in the chat, the gratefulness of the people, and the fact that they were able to take an event that was this big and make it, and triple its size. And, that was pretty incredible. That was a good highlight.
For sure. And it's funny, I find it interesting how a lot of event planners were really nervous about virtual. They had no experience with it, had no clue what to expect. And after their first one, they're like, all right, let's do it. When's the next? It's cool to see the change in reality after that event gets executed. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
So, Jamie, moving on to you, we've also had the privilege of working on a ton of projects with Bespoke over the last year, especially events here in Canada. In your opinion, how have AV and event production companies like yourselves adapted your physical studios to meet the shift to virtual events? And it would be really great if you can highlight challenges Bespoke faced while trying to adapt and how you overcame those.
Sure. So there's been a lot to it, and at the beginning we all called it pivot. March 13th of 2020 hit, and at least that was my date here in Toronto. We shut it. That was the last day I went to work at the office. We shut it all down, didn't know what we were doing. All the business dried up. Everything got canceled. This is a common story that everyone in the industry has heard already. So I won't go through that too much. But as we started to look at what we were going to do and how we were going to stay alive, we, I think, did a couple things as a business that was important. And I can't say that all AV companies did this. In fact, I know that not all of them did. Some AV companies kind of held on to the grassroots version of their business and said, "Oh, I'll just hold off and rent some cameras, or I'll build some presenter kits, and it'll be like laptops that people are going to rent." And they stuck with this sort of commoditized rental version of what AV was. So for us, one of our I think really good decisions was to go through the hard process of converting our business over to a service-based model. So we kind of dumped the commoditized rental version of the way we thought about our business. We switched around how we make our money. We switched around how we measure the money that we make. The balance between say rental revenue and crew and services has all switched around. And then as soon as we got that in our head that switched over, now we went, oh, wait a minute. We got all this gear on the shelf that's just sitting there doing nothing, but it can actually do other stuff. So we took it all off the shelf. And we didn't just build studio. In fact, we didn't even build a studio at first. A lot of other people did, but nobody in Toronto anyways. Canada is way far behind the US in opening up. So we have no interest in having 300 people in a ballroom right now. So like they weren't even coming to studios at the beginning of this. So we went and built about a dozen broadcast control rooms. We had all the switchers, all these computers, all this stuff running, but it was going to sit in the shelf. So the first major pivot we did was build broadcast rooms and repurpose that equipment that was AV to do stuff on screen in rooms and make it into broadcast gear. So we built these control rooms out, and as the need began to arise, then we built a physical studio. We've done a couple of versions of it, and those physical studios really were intended to be, for us anyways, and Mark might have a different opinion of how they did this, but our studio was really an add-on to the digital participation. It came at the moment when people wanted to be in person to present. And it allowed us to create a little bit more intimacy between presenter and other presenters who were comfortable being on stage together, and getting everybody out of their little, this box that I'm in right now, getting everybody out of that box if they wanted to be out of that box, right? But allowing people to stay in the box if they wanted to. So that was kind of a roundabout answer, but that, I think, for us was the biggest thing. Service-based model, follow the marketplace, convert all of our gear, and evolve the business into an online digital broadcast production company.
That's great, and obviously turned into a lot of success for you guys. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
All right, so Mark, from BB Blanc's perspective, what are some of the benefits of streaming or recording sessions in physical studios over doing something like what we're doing right now in PheedLoop? And on top of that, just what are BB Blanc's usual recommendations for events looking to level up their production quality, but I've never done something in a studio before?
Okay, well, yeah, two-parter. So, yeah, it's funny. What Jamie was saying is absolutely. I mean, the first thing that that organizations were looking to do very early on in the pandemic last year was just to broadcast information, just to put information out, mostly to their employees. I found, just to say, hey, this is what's going on. What are our next steps? And it was almost panic mode. I'd say so that was out of necessity. I'd say the AV companies, at least in Canada, that were committed to just continuing that service to their to their clients were to just really focus on the streaming and helping them broadcast that message. I think why we probably really early on built the studios is because it's just in our nature. We really, that is probably our top priority, is the production. We want to make a space, a safe but impactful and dynamic space for our clients to be able to broadcast their content. So I guess to answer your question, I mean, I think the proper mathematical equation is professionalism plus visual impact equals engagement over memorability squared, right? And all kidding aside, but our job as AV production is to dazzle the senses, and that you really, for live events, you really need to, audience experience is top priority. And I think now more than ever, as we're limited to being online or having more virtual experiences, I think our priority to dazzle the sound and the sight is more important now than ever. So delivering a message with a higher impact will resonate more with the audience, both live and virtually. And I'll just give an example. So, and I was thinking about this yesterday when I was like, I'm going to speak tomorrow on this panel. And, if you have a keynote speaker and that person is going to speak about this incredible journey they had climbing Mount Everest, it's the same story, whether they're telling that story through a webcam at their home office. But for me, it's going to be more memorable if they're on this platform with eye-catching visuals and they're able to move around and you can see the energy and they're mimicking the climbing. And these are, again, it really is, you're delivering more of an impactful presentation. And that's what it is we've gone from live experiences to essentially delivering these broadcast videos, these packaged movies, essentially. And then another quick thing that I was thinking about was, for companies, organizations that have their CEOs or their presidents speaking at them, they're representing their brand from the top all the way down through the entire company, and they're representing the values of the organization. And if this company is known for its excellence, or it's known for being on the cutting edge in their field, their environment around them, I think, should represent that. So that's the professionalism side of things. So even if it is just a superficial thing, I don't think a studio is for everyone, for every event. I don't think every event calls for it. And I don't think every company can afford it, and that's okay.
Right.
But for those that can, we can assist with what look and feel fits the content well and can deliver it with more impact. And then your second part was a recommendation. What do we recommend? To folks and planners and producers and companies that haven't used the studio, my recommendation is call your AV provider, talk to them, have a conversation. As AV suppliers or suppliers in the event business, we're here to help. So let us talk about this event and your goals and your objectives. And then for us, we recommend our clients coming in for a physical tour. We can show them in person and go from there.
That's a good point. Always tap into that expertise. All right, so Andrew, this one's a little more forward-looking, but with hybrid events just around the corner, and I know for our team, we actually do have a number of clients running hybrid events a little later on in the year. How does running hybrid events differ from virtual events from a streaming and production standpoint?
Sure. It's a good question, and it's gonna be a lot of options coming down the line, a lot of technology. Where virtual has been, has been focused on connecting people through the delivery of information, few to many, right? Hybrid, in my opinion, at least, is about connecting the in-person audience and the and the at-home audience, and making it a shared experience, right? By definition, so. Focus on the techniques through networking, gamification, perhaps consider installing, again, one of probably 1,000 ideas out there, installing video equipment in live areas, foyers, trade show booths, finding that window of interaction between, my laptop and what's going on live at an event, perhaps an open forum. We did this show actually right before the pandemic. It was an amazing success, combining the two worlds. We were broadcasting out from a very high-profile one-day event, but we did an on-site broadcast studio, essentially allowing access to virtual and in-person attendees to join in on the interviews and the activities going on throughout the day. So there's an unlimited amount of ideas how to make a hybrid solution work to your event, but just focus on the one or two opportunities that allow you to connect both worlds in a shared experience.
Right, and obviously, I think the event technology that they're using to deliver that event will play a big role in that. But looking at your team more on the production side, is there anything specific, like any specific initiatives or items that you're rolling out to help hybrid clients with hybrid?
Not necessarily roll out. So again, the combination of utilizing great tools and platforms like a PheedLoop meets on-site broadcast techniques, it's really going to come down to content, reliable delivery, and then finding the one or two ways, not 10 ways. I guess that would be the primarily. As far as the focus is 3D engines are coming. Augmented reality, a lot of the technology and the updates that you've been seeing coming in lately will all play a part in that.
Yeah, if I mention, I got one thing that triggers you. I've talked about this before, but I've been going through this idea that hybrid, I agree with you, Andrew, it's about bringing the two audience groups together. And I would challenge us all to think of a different word. Like engagement is a word we use a lot. It's kind of overused word. But I would actually suggest that that if you use the word intimacy, that we're trying to create in this hybrid world, some sort of level, and it's going to be different levels from every event, but some level of intimacy between the in-person attendees and the folks on the digital world. How do you create that? And there's going to be, like Andrew's right, there's going to be 1,000 tools on how to do this. Everyone's got some crazy idea how we're going to do it, right? But what's the right option for your event? What's the right option for that producer who's planning the event, or the designer who's creating it, or even the association that just needs to do a meeting?
Yep.
Like, what level of intimacy do you require between all of your different audience groups now, because you have disjointed audiences, and how are you going to create that? I would throw that challenge to everybody when they go into hybrid. Think about that.
That's a really good point. Yeah. All right. So, Jamie, continuing on with you, this is actually building off of one of Mark's comments on the fact that studio production isn't necessarily for everyone. Like, it can get quite expensive. So for price-sensitive event planners that are looking to go for that studio quality production for the first time, what are some cost-saving measures that your team often recommends?
It's an interesting question. I wouldn't say that we necessarily have like a bucket of cost-saving measures necessarily. However, there are equally 1,000 ways to do a digital event versus 1,000 ways to do a hybrid event. And some of them, Mark said something important. We like to talk about people's goals and figure out how you're going to achieve that through the technology we're using and the production we're doing. So if your goal is to educate people through this event, then there's some things you're going to need to have in place. You may not need a physical studio, because really people need to watch content, do a test at the end, confirm that they learned something, and they get a credit. Like, that might be what your event needs, in which case I would recommend don't spend the money on the physical studio, but you might want to spend some more money on your audience polling features. Maybe you want to get a higher functioning analytics platform that can give you the data, like, my people were watching for 16 minutes and 27 seconds and then the guy bailed, so he doesn't get his credit. Like, that sort of thing might be important to you, right? But if you're looking to, razzle dazzle and wow folks and have a big, fun entertainment show, we did a big, huge holiday party that joined people from Chile to all coasts of Canada. There were about 6,000 people on this event. And they had entertainment in every region that was going to perform virtually for all these different regions. Now, that required in-person studios in Calgary, in-person studios in Vancouver, in-person studios in Toronto, because they actually had live performances happening and all these different streams. So that's a whole nother type of event, right? In which case, maybe the studios are right. So to get to the budget answer, though, the budget is built based on what needs to be accomplished and how we can most cost effectively achieve that. So I would say the biggest cost savings is don't do stuff you don't need. If you think it's cool, that's great, but you might spend a lot of money doing something you think is cool that you don't actually need. So we like to help people figure out what they actually need to do. Of course, it's their decision, not mine, what it is they need, because they know better than me. But go through an exploratory process of what you really need to be doing before you run off and say studios and all these sorts of things. Like, we can do virtual events, digital remote presenters still hit goals, and that event can cost you a fraction of what it would cost to do 12 studios and stuff across the country.
Yeah, those are all good points. And just to follow up on that, for those events where producing in studio is a good fit, like, what are the benefits of doing it in a studio versus what we're doing right now, DIY? Sure.
So the benefits in studio for me are kind of what Mark said already: presence of the presenter. Like, I'm standing up today because I prefer to stand up when I present. But when you get a presenter who is used to walking a stage, you tell them to sit at a desk with a little square and this is where they're going to speak, it doesn't come across the same, right? The guy climbing Mount Everest was a great example, right? Panels can be interesting, like we're doing right now, but you lose some of the intimacy or some of the personal connection between presenters when they can't physically see you lose that one level of communication, the physical communication, right? We don't know what people are saying, doing, and thinking except by the words out of their mouths. So I think that's an element that studios can bring. They can also anchor the event. So like, you might have a bunch of folks coming from virtual areas, but the main branded portion of the event, the part that drives the event, is in person, with extra branding on the background, extra branding in the foreground. It'll run, like when we do our events, they all run through these control rooms with composited graphics and all kinds of lower thirds and flying stuff and whatever. We do that to increase the brand awareness for the attendees and to sort of bring it to life. But you can anchor that using Studio too. That was a lot, but did that answer your question, Mitch?
It absolutely did. Thank you.
Those are all great points, man.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Good job.
So just moving on to Mark, and then we'll wrap things up here. But Mark, can you talk to us a little bit about the role of event technology platforms like PheedLoop as they relate to your work at BB Blanc?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, we had to really analyze what our solution was moving into the virtual era that we're in right now. And we have experience with streaming and webcasting, and we have experience with production, putting people on stage, making them look great, recording them, because there was always recording element to live events. These are things that we have years and years and years of experience with. The one thing we didn't was platforms. And as as an attendee of many conferences over the years, I was a huge user of the mobile app. I like to be prepared. I like to network. So I like to post pictures. I like to play the gamification, and I like to create my own schedule, especially if it's a very large, complex event with multiple breakouts and things. I want to know I can just look at my phone, whether I'm in the convention center or back in my hotel room, and I know it'll tell me where to go and remind me, what time to meet in the lobby for the offsite. And you guys get what I'm going with that. But so the platform was not something that we were never going to try to create or invent, or we knew there was already some great companies out there, and just like our customers, just like our suppliers, just like our colleagues and competitors and everything, we did our due diligence. We went out and we did extensive research, and we attended demos, and we wanted to offer a solution to our clients just as a recommendation. We wanted to show our clients that we're also going out there and learning. And as a company that's going to have to collaborate and incorporate our technology into this platform technology, we wanted to vet, we wanted to experience. So we attended events and we did testing and training and the whole nine. So circling back, now that I've kind of prefaced my answer, is that what we liked about PheedLoop from very early on was just a true knowledge and understanding of events and what different industries, so not just corporate, but association and nonprofit and fundraisers and conferences, and the needs of the organizers and the expectations of what they want for their audience experience. So we understood that we appreciated that you understood that, and that you kind of created this platform to be able to give them that experience and have the right features and functions that would tend to those different areas and many different facets of the event. It's quite robust, so that for the most complex of events, you have a lot of different features that cater to all the different needs to a very complex conference or summit or convention, where there's trade show elements or sponsorships or things like that. But then also at the same time, you can minimize it and customize it to be a little bit more basic. We like that it's user-friendly. So without continuing to toot the horn of PheedLoop, it's very important to have these relationships and to have solid understanding of how you operate, so that it's we use it as a way to offer more of a turnkey solution for our clients, so that under one roof they have one team that's knowledgeable on all the three major aspects of running a successful virtual event, which is your platform, which is your host, your new venue, essentially, the streaming and the broadcasting element, and helping with the content, whether it's just everyone is remote and we're putting in some lower thirds in editing and post, whether it's just live streaming someone remote, or whether it is creating an in-studio or on-stage production, live or pre-recorded. Those are the key elements, and we want to be able to offer all three. And when we're talking about PheedLoop with our clients, we now are knowledgeable enough to give the demo ourselves or things like that, and explain how each of these functions within your platform can assist and can help and can benefit the outcome of their event.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Absolutely.
It is very important, the technology in our services and our solutions.
For sure. And I know for our team, we're incredibly thankful for the relationships that we've developed with your teams, because it's very complementary. we provide the platform. We're technology nerds, like that's what we do, but we're not event producers. And oftentimes we do have clients coming and saying, hey, we need more of a hands-on white glove service approach. And that's where you guys come in. So I think it meshes really well, and we're incredibly thankful to be working with all of you. Yeah. So we are running a couple of minutes over now, so I will have to wrap it up. But Andrew, Jamie, Mark, really appreciate your time today. Thank you all very much for joining us, and everyone enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us,
Pleasure,
Mitch.
guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
You guys have a great day. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.